YouTube. I just recorded this whole thing and realized I didn't have my microphone on. And that doesn't work. I tried that once, I forgot, and I posted it, and one of you was like, I can't hear you. So I had to delete that, and now I'm starting over again. But I'll get to correct a few things that I didn't do the way I wanted to last time. So welcome back to my channel. My name's Holly. And so far, I'm talking about books on this channel. I do kind of, well, not kind of, I absolutely intended for this channel to be about more than books when I started. But as I've said in previous videos, books have turned back into my cozy place, which I guess they kind of haven't been this prominent in my life since I was pretty young. Because then you get into school and you have to read, and I had to read a lot of books for my Spanish degree. And that really stretched my brain way further than I expected to stretch it. So once I got out of school, I got away from reading. And, there's been times throughout my life when I've gotten back into it, but it's a much more focused effort now, and I'm really enjoying it. So since we last spoke, I have finished my first book of the year. Although I started this in the fall of 2024, I read the last maybe 100, maybe only like 80 pages in the first few days of 2025, and it's this book, The Witch's Heart by Genevieve Gornichek. I've talked about this book in past videos, so I won't talk too much about it, but it's a mythic retelling of the lead up to Ragnarok. And I'm not particularly well versed in Norse mythology or the gods and goddesses. So it was a bit of a crash course for me to learn about although you didn't have to necessarily know all, Norse mythology. And she does have a nice appendix in the back, which I only found after I finished, listing the characters and the places. Which probably would have helped if I had read that more carefully throughout the book. But anyway, I enjoyed it. It was an easy read, even though I took a little bit to read it. And, I enjoy those kind of earthy, witchy books a lot. They're right in they're in the pocket of what I like to read. So this wasn't anything I had to force myself to read. I really, really did enjoy it. So I highly recommend it. If you like these kind of books, give it a try. And it's going to be the first book that I put on my finished list for 2025. Even though I read the bulk of it last year, I'm giving myself a little boost for completed books this year. So this is the first one. After that, I attempted to read The Last Man by Mary Shelley, and I talked about this in the last video. I mentioned that I wasn't really enjoying it, and that continued to be the case. I really struggled, and I did try. I don't know how far I got, not very far, but I was not enjoying this. First of all, the type's really small, which is a big pain and stresses you out if you're already not enjoying it, me anyway. And it's just not my kind of story. It's extremely dystopian. I mean, we hadn't even gotten to the dystopian part yet. But from reading what it's about. And I'm bummed that I'm not going to finish this because it's for a book club for Patreon that I follow. I belong to for friend Manesses. And I really wanted to participate in her second book club because I so enjoyed the first one. But I just didn't want to start my year struggling with something and not. I'm still building my attention span and rebuilding my reading muscles. And didn't feel like I was going to do myself any favors by forcing myself to read a book that was just not what I just didn't enjoy it. And that's just not how I want my reading time to be spent right now. Maybe I'll get to the point where I'm ready to push myself a little bit more, but not at this point. So I put that book aside. Hopefully someday, maybe someday I'll pick it up. I don't know. We'll see. And I also now continue to read The Existentialist Cafe by Sarah Bakewell, which I continue to enjoy, but I'm kind of slowed down reading it. I read it in the mornings, which is, my mind kind of is a little bit jumpy in the mornings because things are occurring to me for the day. And so I stop reading and I'm making a list of my to-dos and things. And so today's Wednesday. This weekend, I hope to sit down midday with that book and just get through, really get some under my belt, because my fear is if I keep dragging it out, I'm going to lose interest. And that has not even begun to happen at this point, but that's a bit of a pattern with me. So I'm going to try to pick up the speed on that book. And then I have a book that I read in the morning and a book that I read in the evening. And so now my evening read is JoanDidion's The White Album. and I'm liking it so far. I like it a lot. It's not quite what I thought it was going to be, although I don't know, I didn't have a lot of preconceived notions about what this was going to be, even though I had read the blurb. This is one of the books that I had some encouragement to read it by the author who's just put out a book about JoanDidion and Eve Babbitts, which I'm really interested in reading. And I was watching that author. I'm not going to be able to remember her name right now. She had on her Instagram books that she recommended you read by Joan and by Eve. And so there was two that she recommended for JoanDidion. It was this and what's the one, Bethlehem? I'm forgetting the whole name of that. I don't know. I'm going to say it wrong, I think. So this one was a little, no, was it? It doesn't matter why. Anyway, I chose to read this one first. And it takes place, well, it's essays. And she's a Californian. I believe she comes from Sacramento initially. And at the point that she's reading writing the stories that I'm reading right now, she's living in LA at the time of the Manson murders, which that was still very prevalent in the culture when I was little. I was born in 1970, and a lot of the stories she's talking about right now are like 68, including the riots at San Francisco State. And I'm from Northern California, so and my dad was going to San Francisco State in 1968 at the time of the riots she's mentioning. And she even makes mention of a professor who I think was also a dean at San Francisco State, S.I. Hayakawa. I think I'm saying that name right. He was one of my dad's professors, if I'm not mistaken. And my dad used to tell me stories about those times. So it was, comforting now that my dad's not here anymore to read this and kind of feel a little bit more connected to him. She also makes mention of the Black Panthers and Huey Newton's trial and the governor's mansion in California. It's just very California based so far. And because it's all right around the time when I was just before and just after I was born, I'm finding it particularly interesting. I do hope it gets a little bit more personal. I don't feel like we're getting any real insights into her yet at this point. It's all just kind of like looking at these cultural events and current news of the time through her eyes as a journalist. So anyway, I'm almost halfway through now, and I'm sure there's a lot more to evolve in these stories. So looking forward to this being the second book that I finish in 2025. What else was I going to tell you guys? Let's look at the list that I wrote for this video. Some other lists that I hope to create this year in terms of reading goals. I started in the last video, I started a list of I promise to read books. There's only one on the list right now. I talked about it last video, Love in the Time of Cholera by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. I'm looking forward to finally reading that book this year, and I will continue to add to that list as books occur to me. I'm not going to force myself to sit down and write that list. It's going to evolve as I come across books in my collection that I already have that I'd like to read, because I'm putting myself on a little bit of a book fast this year. I'm only opening up for 1 month at a time to buy a very small number of books through the year. And right now I'm in the fast. So January and February and March are no book buying months. In April, I'll open that up to maybe as many as 3 books. Then I'm going to close down again for May and June and maybe July, and open it again in August. So I'm going to do like a pattern of fasting months and then 1 month and fasting months and 1 month. And what I hope to do in addition to curbing all the spending I'm doing, when $5 a time feels like nothing, but it adds up when you're kind of out of control. So I'm hoping to curb that, and I'm hoping that it's going to make me a little bit more thoughtful about what I buy, encourage me to read what I already have, and break the habit rather, so that maybe by the end of the year I've slowed down and I don't need to babysit myself quite so much. So that's that whole idea. And then another list that I'll be starting soon is books that I want to finally finish, because scattered around my place here are many books that I am somewhere around halfway through, and I just abandon them for whatever set of reasons. So I'm going to collect some of those. Like I keep them in my head. I think about them really often, and I'm holding those stories in my head. Like I think I could like free up that memory space, that usage for something else in my life if I finish these books. So I'm going to start writing that list in the next couple weeks and share that with you guys in upcoming videos. I'm also going to choose some books to give away. There's a lending library here in my community, you know, honor system, give, take back, all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to donate to that library over time. So that's about it for this video. I do have this really lovely box of gemstones that I purchased recently for upcoming Imbolc on February 1st. And KatieMaeNaturals is who I bought these from. She sent me a little free candle, a little hand poured apples and oaks. So thank you, Katie. It's a soy wax candle, so healthier to burn. This little collection of rocks is the Imbolc collection. It includes howlite, bloodstone, sodalite, amethyst, and unakite. And I'm going to have to figure out which stones are which. I have a little bit of an idea, but I know for sure that this is amethyst, this pretty purple one. This is my birthstone, and I have several amethysts around my place, but I like to buy sets like this. And so this is my set for the honoring the space, the halfway point between winter and spring. So if you haven't already subscribed, I hope you will. These gentle chats are the idea of this channel, but I hope to expand beyond the topic of books, although that's a great place to start. We'll see what else comes up for me. And thanks again to Katie, including this cute little note she wrote and put in the box with my Imbolc gemstones. So that's my cozy little corner for today, you guys. I hope you'll come back. Leave me a comment. I love to respond. I'm hoping to create a lot of connection here. So have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you in a couple more days for the next video. Bye-bye for now.